time she looked back, the color was already gone. She sat at the vanity, quiet as powder, brushing silence into her cheekbones. There was no rush, he hadn't called in weeks. Still she traced her lips like a ritual, red but softer now. The shade that once made him stay now just marked the edge of an empty cup. She wore it anyway, for the ghost in the hallway, for the woman she promised to remember. The lipstick faded before she did, color ran before her courage did. She smiled at her reflection like a woman rehearsing how to leave slowly. Even beauty doesn't last without something to say it to. He liked her lips best when silent, when they held back, when they trembled. Now they speak only to the mirror, soft confessions in rose and rust. She no longer please between sips. What's the point when the drink tastes like yesterday and the kiss never arrives? There are women who bloom and women who remember blooming. She was both, but mostly the second. She pressed the two close gently, like folding a love letter no one would read again. Her voice stayed in the lipstick, not in words but in shape. He never asked for it back, and she never threw it out. Later, when the room went dark, the mirror still showed her smile, faded, soft-edged, but still her. Later, when the room went dark, the mirror still showed her smile, faded, soft-edged, but still her. Still played, but her hands had stopped moving. Some goodbyes come before the final note. He said it's just a song, as if music ever meant so little to her. She nodded, but she knew the tune by heart. She danced to it once in heels that hurt and hope that didn't. Now she sat barefoot in a kitchen chair, letting the sound pass through her like it didn't belong to her anymore. She closed her eyes before the song ended, not to sleep but to remember every lyric had its place, every pause a former kiss. And when the bridge came, she exhaled like it was his name. She used to hum along, now her mouth stayed still, as if silence were the last thing she owned. The record skipped once, she didn't flinch. Mistakes didn't scare her, endings did. She left the lights off so the melody could move freely. Grief needs room to sway. She thought about opening her eyes, but the world outside was always a little behind the beat in the dark. She could still feel his hand on her waist, leading. Some women wait for the fade out, others leave during the chorus. She just needed the right note to stop remembering. The needle lifted, the silence applauded, but her eyes never opened, because some goodbyes sound better with your eyes closed. It didn't break when he left, it broke later, quietly like guilt in a quiet room. The mirror had seen it all, the collar tug, the sideways glance, the lies she almost believed. He always stood behind her, close enough to breathe on the glass, but never close enough to stay. She powdered her cheek, as if covered in bruises only mirrors could name. And when he left, he didn't take his reflection. The mirror cracked where he last stood, a fracture in the shape of silence. She traced it with one finger, like reading a scar backwards. Even silver remembers betrayal. She thought about fixing it, new glass, new wall, new woman, but that crack was honest, more truthful than any compliment he gave. Now when she looks, she sees herself divided, one side poised, the other undone, both parts still loving him in their own quiet way. Some reflections lie gently, this one confessed, it whispered he was real, you were not wrong. He just never stayed long enough to believe it. Mirrors don't forget gestures, they store them, frame them in guilt, and play them back when you least want to see. she was loved. She didn't stop using that mirror. She just stopped asking it what she looked like when she was loved. She left them on the nightstand, out of habit, not hope, but still they waited. Gold hoops, barely tarnished, hung from silence like questions. He said he liked them, not too loud, not too bright, just like her. She wore them the night he first stayed over, and every night after, until the night stopped coming. Now they sit like loyal dogs in a velvet dish next to unopened matches and yesterday's rings. Her earrings waited longer than he did, more faithful than goodbye. They faced the ceiling, he faced the door. She still touched them every morning, as if time could be rewound with metal and memory. He used to unclasp them slowly like they were secrets. Now she does it in silence, with hands that don't tremble anymore. Sometimes she puts them on just to feel the weight of what used to mean something. They don't shine like they did, but neither does she. She once read that gold doesn't forget shape. It bends, but never breaks. That's what they are now. Curved memory, delicate endurance, polished greed. Jewelry never leaves first, it just stays behind to remind you who did. She wears them now for no one, and that somehow feels more honest than before. She wears them now for no one, and that somehow feels more honest before. The room didn't feel empty, it felt full of everything she no longer said out loud. There was one near the window, a silhouette shaped like waiting, Another on the chair, crossed legs, arched spine, still hoping for the right knock. The mirror held 3 of her, one fixing her lipstick, one pretending not to cry, one already forgetting how she looked when he loved her. A room full of her silhouettes, none of them real, but all of them true. She'd left parts of herself in each corner. Even the light bent differently where she used to stand. He walked in once after it was over, felt her in the air, in the dust, in the curve of the pillow that no longer fit his side. He didn't call her name, even ghosts don't like to be summoned by the wrong voice. She'd never leave all at once. Women like her don't vanish, they stay in the curtains, in the perfume lid left slightly ajar. They haunt you with kindness, it didn't return fast enough. She's not coming back, but she never really left, just dimmed herself into shadow. With her echoes, and so did he, but neither could forget how loud she once was without saying a word. The room didn't feel empty, it felt full of everything she no longer said out loud. There was one near the limb with her echoes, and so did he, but neither could forget how loud she once was without saying a word. The room didn't feel empty, it felt full of everything she no longer said out loud. There was one near the limb with her echoes, and so did he, but neither could forget how loud she once was without saying a word. The room didn't feel empty, it felt full of everything she no longer said out loud. There was one to live with her echoes, and so did he, but neither could forget how loud she once was without saying a word.
She wore it like jewelry, the kind that shines, but never really belongs to you. It wasn't her smile, not really. It was someone else's grin, folded neatly into her mouth. She put it on in the mirror each morning, same as mascara, same as hope. He liked her cheerful, so she'd practice the shape until her lips forgot the truth. The smile she borrowed was never quite her size, too wide for sadness, too tight for joy. But it got her through dinners and doorways and nights when her name felt too heavy to wear. It cracked in the kitchen once, spilled into her coffee. She drank it anyway, even pretended it tasted go, or why her dimples only showed when he was watching. She kept it in a compact next to the powder puff, a paper-thin performance for a world that loves surface. She wasn't lying, she was surviving, and sometimes they look the same. Some smiles are gifts, some are masks. Hers was a mirror, and even it refused to look back. She set it down one evening next to the lipstick and never picked it up again. The silence said more than any smile ever could. He forgot her laugh by Tuesday, but the glass still held its echo, like a song too soft to stop playing. He left fingerprints on the vanity, one beside her perfume, another beside the comb. She wiped them away, but they came back in dreams. She looked in the mirror and saw the places he stood, where his eyes once paused, where his hands once fumbled. She'd cleaned everything except what he meant. When glass remembers what men forget, it holds the outline of absence, the shimmer of almost, the chill of someone once watching. He forgot the shape of her back, the mirror didn't. She once whispered to the glass, as if it might lie for her, tell her she was still lovely, still wantonly. But it stayed honest, showed the mascara stain. He never noticed, showed the line of her mouth, growing tired of smiling alone. She doesn't talk to it now, just nods, touches the frame, and walks away slower than she means to, because glass has no mercy, only memory. Men forget on purpose, mirrors forget by breaking. She stayed somewhere in between, a woman made of both. Men forget on purpose, mirrors forget by breaking. She stayed somewhere in between, a woman made of both. The mirror never called, but it never left her, and sometimes that felt like love.
She
She didn't wear it for him anymore. She wore it for the air and for the memory of being wanted. The bottle sat half-used, glass curved like her collarbone. No label, no brand, just scent. Familiar and unspoken, she dabbed it beneath her jaw, behind her knees, in places lovers used to know by instinct. He once said, "It smells like something I've dreamed." She never told him the name because it didn't have one. Perfume with no name, but it remembered hers. It clung to pillows he never saw, rooms he never entered. It walked ahead of her, haunted elevators, turned heads she never asked for. Even ghosts follow fragrance. She wore it when she wasn't ready to cry. When the mirror asked questions her voice couldn't answer. It was her armor, invisible, expensive, made of every goodbye she survived. The scent changed over time, got darker, sadder. Still she wore it like it might bring him back. They say memory is strongest in smell. That's why she never told its name, so no one could steal what he left behind. Even now when she walks alone, she wonders who still carries her past in their lungs. Some loves fade, others evaporate. Hers still lingers in the air no one claims. Nearly empty, but the scent remains just like her, half gone, fully present. She stood in front of the mirror and realized it was doing a better job being her than she was. The reflection looked calm, poised, a woman with nowhere to be, and no one to impress. But inside she was unraveling thread by thread. He used to say, "You look best when you don't know it." She learned to smile at herself like a stranger might be watching. But the woman in the glass always smiled first and better. The mirror wore her better, more composed, less tired, it didn't sag with memory. It didn't shake when his name came up in silence. She wanted to be that version just once, the one untouched by goodbye. She dressed carefully, but not for him, for the mirror, for the lie it let her believe. For 30 seconds at a time, even the earrings caught light differently in reflection, more elegant, less burdened. She blinked, and the woman blinked back like she had secrets she hadn't earned. She wondered if he ever loved her, or just her reflection, the one that didn't interrupt, didn't doubt, didn't age. Glass forgives faster than skin. The camera never caught her the way the mirror did, but the mirror never kissed her either. She turned away before the mirror changed its mind, before it remembered she wasn't really there. She looked in the mirror to remember who she was. It told her what she needed, not what was true. The powder covered the cracks, but not the silence. She tilted her head the way he liked, let the light hit her cheekbones like she still wanted to be seen. But the woman in the mirror was too calm, too shorn, too untouched, like she hadn't wept behind locked doors just 3 nights ago. Her reflection lied too well, told her she was fine when she wasn't even close. It framed her strength like a painting, hung high where no one could reach it. Even she believed it sometimes. She practiced small smiles, the kind that suggest you've moved on, that you didn't wait for him to call, that you don't flinch when someone says his name. But the mirror helped her fake it, just enough, just long enough to leave the house and survive the brunch table. She once caught herself laughing, and the reflection didn't join in. That's when she knew the truth was hiding somewhere outside the frame. The glass gave comfort, not clarity. It remembered her lines better than she did. There's a difference between healing and hiding in your own face. She forgot which one she was doing. She wiped off the lipstick. The mirror said she still looked lovely, but it lies best when no
argue back.
It hangs in the closet, pressed and quiet, still waiting for the night he promised. She wore it once when his voice sounded more like staying. The hem danced against her knees like it already knew the rhythm of him. He said it brought out her laugh, as if fabric could hold joy. Longer than a man could, she saved it, not for another night with him, but for the version of her that still believed his mouth meant forever. A dress that still believes him, more loyal than her heart, less wise than her silence. It never stopped holding its shape. Even when she did, she couldn't wear it again, but she couldn't give it away either. The zipper sticks now, just a little. She blames humidity, not heartbreak. Sometimes she unfolds it just to breathe him in, like perfume trapped in old seams. She smooths the creases with fingers that shake a little more than they used to. It's not the dress that hurts, it's the way it remembers her better than she does. The woman who twirled once, the girl who believed that a promise whispered after midnight could outlast morning. She doesn't hate him, she hates how the dress still hopes he might walk in and say she looks beautiful, like he means it. She never wears it, but she never forgets where it hangs. Some love stories only live in closets. She used to sit there every morning, perfume, powder, and a little hope. Now the dust gets ready instead. There's a lipstick cap rolled just out of reach, a strand of hair still curled with intention. The mirror is tilted like it's tired of looking at her. The drawer sticks, not because it's old, but because some things don't want to be open anymore. She used to hum while brushing her hair. Now even the brush feels heavier. Dust on the vanity, like time learning how to settle. Not loud, not cruel, just inevitable. Dust on the vanity, like time learning how to settle. doesn't clean it off, then somehow it feels like wiping away a version of herself that no longer visits. He once left a note there, folded like a secret he hoped she'd miss. She found it, but didn't open it until years later. The ink had faded like his excuses. Now the letter lives in the back corner, pressed between cologne and forgetfulness. She told herself it was just a room, just a mirror, just dust. But some altars don't need prayers to still feel sacred. Some mornings don't need makeup to remember how he looked at her when he still meant it. She doesn't sit there much, but she doesn't move the chair either. Some ghosts need furniture to stay polite. Dust gathers slowly like grief with good posture, and she lets it, because forgetting should never be too clean. The mirror caught her at the wrong hour, or maybe it was the right one to tell the truth. She leaned in slowly, expecting the usual silence. But the woman who looked back had colder eyes, a sharper mouth, and something unfamiliar beneath the jawline. Not sadness, not age, something else. She touched her cheek to see if the stranger flinched. She didn't. The shade she didn't recognize wore her blouse, stood in her shoes, but moved like she'd forgotten softness. She didn't blink right, didn't smile wrong, just stood there, patient and uninvited. It wasn't grief, and it wasn't freedom, just a version of her that had survived too long without speaking aloud. The walls didn't seem surprised. The vanity knew, even the perfume turned its head. She whispered, "Is this who I've become?" The glass didn't answer, but the shadow did. Sometimes change doesn't feel like growth, it feels like loss. In a familiar dress, she backed away slowly, as if distance might make her recognizable again. But the reflection stayed still, like it didn't need her permission to exist. She once knew every version of herself. Now she keeps meeting new ones in quiet rooms that don't ask questions. She turned off the light, but the shade remained. Not a ghost, not a dream, just a truth she hadn't named yet.
just a truth she hadn't named yet.
Long before she packed a bag, her eyes had already found the door. Goodbye always begins in the gaze. She'd stare at nothing like it had answers. The wallpaper, the corners of the room, even the rug, they held her longer than he did. She smiled when spoken to, but her pupils didn't stay. They drifted past his voice like they were scanning for exits he couldn't see. Her eyes practiced leaving before her hands ever touched the suitcase. No tears, just direction. He kissed her, but her gaze was already somewhere softer, somewhere she didn't have to pretend. She stood in front of the mirror and didn't blink. That's how she trained herself to disappear slowly, to rehearse being gone without causing a scene. She folded love like laundry, placed it in drawers she no longer opened, and her eyes, they stopped lingering. Some women shout, some write letters. She just looked away longer each day, until one morning the reflection didn't flinch when she turned her back. Leaving doesn't always sound like footsteps. Sometimes it's the silence between glances. By the time she closed the door, he said, "I never saw it coming." But the mirror did, it always does.
Everyone else had figured it out. The walls, the perfume, even the coat by the door. But the mirror still thought she'd stay. She used to tell it everything with mascara, with lip gloss, with breath fogged on glass. It watched her practice forgiveness more times than she gave it, held her gaze steady when her hands weren't. But that morning it said nothing, didn't shine, didn't crack, just stared back, unaware it was the last time. The mirror was the last to know, still catching her shape, still believing in her blush. It framed a woman already gone and didn't ask why her eyes didn't smile anymore. It never questioned why her necklace clasp shook in the wrong rhythm.
glass. Her bag was zipped, the note was folded, the perfume uncapped, so he'd still feel her in the air a little longer. She looked once, then again, and the mirror smiled like it always did. Too late. Some truths don't reach the surface until the reflection is already gone. And some mirrors just play along because they'd rather lie than lose her. She didn't cry, not for him, not for the mirror, but for the girl it still believed in. He found the room untouched except the mirror, still tilted slightly like it was waiting to catch one more goodbye.
She didn't need the mirror that night. She just needed to feel like she still knew where her mouth was. No lights, no audience, just her, a compact she didn't open, and the red she always wore when she was too tired to explain. She traced her lips by memory, a familiar shape, an unfamiliar silence. The color wasn't perfect, but neither was she anymore. That was the point. She put on her lipstick in the dark, not for him, not for the world, but for the woman still flickering somewhere inside. You don't need to see beauty to remember how it used to feel. She'd done it 1,000 times, with lights, with laughter, with someone waiting in the next room. Tonight there was no one, only the hush of dust settling and the soft click of a tube she couldn't throw away. She applied it slow, like a prayer, not for salvation, but for ritual. Some women cry in mirrors. She painted defiance on her mouth with the lights off, because beauty, when no one is watching, is the most honest kind. It didn't matter if the line was straight, only that it was red, red like it was red, red like memory, red like something she still had control of. When the power came back, she didn't check her reflection. She just smiled, a little crooked, a little fierce, but still hers.
She used to be in every picture. Now she's just part of the wall. There's a photo above the mantle, gold frame, a little dust in the corners. She's in it, but only barely, off to the side, laughing at something no one remembers. She didn't pose, she just existed,
That was enough back then. Now the smile looks borrowed, the light forgets her name. Forgotten by the frame, still present but no longer seen. The moment held her once, but the years let go. She fades quieter than silence, more gently than a ghost. He never took the photo down, but he stopped looking at it. She noticed, she always noticed, what eyes chose not to see. Sometimes she stood beneath it, as if trying to re-enter the image, to be that woman again, or at least be someone someone would hang on a wall with meaning. Some frames grow heavier with time, not from the photo, but from the stories that no one tells anymore. She used to be the reason that corner felt alive. Now it's just decor. She doesn't need to be remembered forever, just once more, by someone who meant it. She dusts the frame sometimes, like she's cleaning a memory. She no longer fits inside. Everyone else forgot the room, the scent, the sound of her voice when she wasn't performing. But the mirror didn't. It saw her when she wasn't trying, when the mascara smeared, when the dress didn't zip, when the smile cracked. But no one noticed. She told herself she was fine. She even said it out loud once. The mirror didn't believe her. It never had. Only the mirror remembers how she touched her throat after he left, how she stood still for hours so the grief wouldn't spill. It remembers her real voice, the one no one ever heard, because she sang in silence. The walls forget, the sheets forget, even the perfume turns on her eventually. But the mirror, it holds her gently, frame by frame, like a film only she can watch. Not for comfort, but for proof that she once existed beyond the role she played. She never thanked it, never had to. The mirror didn't need gratitude. It only needed light and her, even dimly.
They packed her things, folded her scent into boxes, turned off the lamp she always left on. But the room didn't feel empty. It felt paused. You can erase lipstick from a teacup, but not from memory. You can dust the mirror, but not silence the version of her still practicing goodbyes. At 2 a.m. there's a dress still hanging that smells like a conversation she never finished. There's a drawer that creaks the way she once laughed, and the floor still holds her weight, even if no one's standing there. People say she left. They say she changed. But the truth is simpler. She just stopped being seen, stopped bending to the light that never warmed her. The mirror remembers, the perfume remembers, the quiet does too. Because some women don't vanish, they dissolve slowly, gracefully, and still they linger in the corners that never learn